Good afternoon. All of us at Wordsworth Books are, struggling to pass the time along with, pretty much everybody else, aren't we? With that in mind, here are three great books to, do just that. They are all recently released. They are all from HarperCollins Publishing, but that's neither here nor there. The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel will be familiar to anyone who read and loved Station 11 a few years back. It was a one book, one community pick for the region of Waterloo a few years ago. I loved the book. This is a better bet. Astute readers of, finance, or finance high or low, I suppose, will remember Bernie Madoff, the American financier who built a whole class of people out of hundreds of millions of dollars in the early 2000s. He is presently, self-isolating in a prison cell somewhere, and for good reason. This is a story, essentially, of a Ponzi scheme and a financier who, for a few years, lives very, very well, and, suddenly does not. This is a story both before and after everything falls apart, and it centers mostly on cause and effect. How possible is it for those who are working in this sphere, and as the author notes several times over, to both know and not know a thing? How is it one can know and not know what's going on around them? Specifically, know and not know how invoices and financial chicanery at a very high level work. What does it mean when you are caught? What does it mean for the investors who are suddenly of a certain age and are looking to retirement with a big pillow and suddenly have nothing? What does cause and effect around great amounts of money look like and feel like? This is essentially a story of morality and the void that exists at the middle of it when our hand is forced. Literary works, like the three in front of us, have to have some gas in the tank, have to have some move, and have to have some reason for a reader who's, and all of our time is, we've got nothing but options now. There has to be a reason to keep turning pages. There has to be lightning on the page, gas in the tank. This is a book that is very easy to read in two settings. This is not just a story of money. This is a story of what it means and how slippery it is and what the inevitable moral tale around it is comprised of. There are 4 or 5 geographic locations because, again, money moves around the world in a heartbeat now. So do we, so do our intentions, so do our pursuers. Vincent Smith is a Canadian woman. She is bouncing around Toronto and Vancouver along with her younger brother Paul. Their lives take wildly divergent paths in their late teens, early 20s. Vincent ends up, quite literally, at the center of power. Paul is on the outside of it. But the beauty part of the Glass Hotel is he is present at the 2 or 3 most opportune moments in the novel. A minor character who can carry a lot of water in a modern novel is a rare thing. Generally speaking, the modern novel generally takes place around the major characters and their minutiae, around their character makeup and their flaws and their way of sliding in and out of things. This is a minor character who works very, very well, and a cast of minors who work very well. There's very little here that doesn't work. Again, literature, but with gas in the tank. Big ideas, lots of move. A great book on a beer and a hammock book. Great for book clubs. Very hard to miss. Secondary. Again, money. What is it like? What would it be like when a basic, standard waspish family hits the big one? The Kaplans are man and wife, daughter and son, your basic suburban family. Suddenly, they hit $9.6 million in the lottery. Of course their lives change. Anybody could write a book like that. What if there's a secret in the family? A big one. What if we now have notoriety and some fame and several reasons for being clandestine, and now it's suddenly very hard to do? What are your intentions around keeping a life and building a life at a level at which we are now accustomed? And when something wholly unbelievable comes along and threatens to wreck it. Gwen Kaplan is a mother and a wife who has worked very hard to reach a position, not a high position, just a position where she can relax at night. Suddenly that's not possible, for one obvious reason, and one reason that becomes clear a third in. And given that construct, there have been a lot of novels in the last few years, I won't mention Girl on the Train, oops, I guess I just did, in which you basically know the turn in the third act, because it's been set up and it's been calibrated to the point where you pretty much know what's coming. You're just sort of waiting for the closet door to open in the dark and the monster to come out. Katrina Onstad, a Canadian author whom I was over the moon with her previous book, Everybody Has Everything. She simply refuses to give in to the big turn in the third act. The surprise is all-encompassing, and it fits what John Irving called the perfect arc of a novel. The ending is both inevitable and shocking. Again, literature with move. Great book for a summer, great book for ideas, great book for intention. How do we become the adults we become? What wounds, what advantages, what amalgam of all of that when we were teenagers turns us into the adults that we are, for better or for worse. And now for crime fiction, because really, let's be honest, this is where the fun is. Literature is good for you, but you can only eat vegetables forever, right? This is what in the early 90s was called a bibliomystery. Simply put, a mystery about books. And frankly, it's about time the bookseller got to be the bad guy here. I mean, booksellers are sweethearts, we always have been, but once in a while it'd be nice to get your hands dirty. Our man Malcolm Kershaw lives and works in an antiquarian bookshop in Boston. Several years before the opening of the novel, he penned, as part of his bookstore's blog, a blog post called 8 Perfect Murders, hence the title. The simple idea, what murders took place in classic works of crime fiction that were pretty much unsolvable? What were the circumstances? What were the hooks? What were the details that were paid attention to in real works of crime fiction that made the murders, in each book damn near impossible to solve? This blog post took on a life at the opening of the novel when there is a person running around out there, and of course, like all great mysteries, we have no idea right away, who is popping people in manners ascribed to each book. Not only is this a great piece of fiction and a killer crime novel, but it also gives the reader 8 other beauties to entertain themselves with by virtue of the construct of the novel. One of which is a personal favorite of mine by Donna Tartt called The Secret History. That's for another time. Our bookseller is in a weird place right now because the FBI has come calling and said, listen, we found this blog post of yours, and lo and behold, we've got a guy running around and it kind of matches this, and it matches this, and it matches this. He's not a suspect right away, but you can see what's coming. Our man Malcolm is therefore duty-bound to A, figure out the murders, and B, try and get away from being under suspicion. The slippery slope of any good crime novel is how we get from, on the outside to well on the inside, right? His girlfriend, again, carries a lot of water in the novel because we all have secrets. And in crime fiction, well, there are no good secrets, are there? It's a page-turner. Peter Swanson's a fellow who's been around for 10 or 12 years. This is a breakout book for him. It's now finally getting, and it's wonderful to see this in crime fiction. When a writer who has been around for 6, 8, 10 books now finally gets to swim at the big pool. This is a book that has now gotten him international attention. This is a great novel. On behalf of Wordsworth Books, thank you very much.